Hello guys, thank you so much for being here today with us. Super happy to share this roundtable with you as a data professional and a huge football fan for the past 35 years. It really means a lot to be here with you and to talk about this burning topic of what data and AI can bring to increase and develop athletes' performance in the football industry. So we've been before today talking a lot about the different use cases, the different expectations that you've identified from your current or past experiences when it comes to using data to increase performance. So maybe Chris, Ben, could you share a few hot use cases that you've come across in the past?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, very happy to be here. I'll give three user cases which we explore and test and you know looking at closely over the last 2-3 years at the French Football Federation. Without going too in depth for the moment, I would say the first one is related to talent identification, selection and development. This obviously is a burning issue in football across the world and specifically at the French Football Federation, which has a very, very good reputation obviously for developing young players. A second major area is related purely to performance, so technical, tactical, physical, mental, trying to identify the predictors of performance, how we win games, how we lose games. And the third major area we are really interested in is related to our work processes, so our workflows. So how can we optimize our workflows at FFF related to data? So we have a lot of data, unstructured, structured, to give an idea of how big the data sets are at FFF. We have 2.5 million people playing football. We have 10,000-12,000 games per weekend, 40,000 coaches. Elite levels, we have around 20 national teams, including normal football, if you like, football, 11-side football, futsal, beach soccer, etc. We have 24 regional academies with 50 boys, 50 girls. So we have a lot of data and we need to break down the silos in that data and optimize everything we do in terms of how we analyze, well, how we collect, how we analyze, and especially how we actually present the data.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Ben, you've been working a lot on the club side. What have you seen from your experiences so far? And if you look at the future, what are the type of challenges that you'd like to be able to solve and to answer through AI and data in general?
Again, thanks a lot for having me today. It's a great privilege. I must make a disclaimer, I'm no expert in AI, but it's obviously a subject that we're very interested to explore. I guess one important thing from a club factor, or any sport for that matter, it's availability. So having the players available and ready to perform at their optimum. I guess just want to take a step back and just talk a bit about data maturity and making sure that everyone is on the same page and all the data is clean, it's valid, it's reliable. Because without that, we can't really start to ask these important questions without, the saying goes, garbage in equals garbage out. I guess on top of that is like, we're going to probably discuss a bit more on it, around contextualization. So we need to make sure that everything is with a context. I guess we'll speak a bit about injury prediction and that, but there's a lot of context around that is a bit misleading. And I guess we'll go into that in a little bit more detail.
Okay, so basically from what I understand, in terms of use cases, there's a lot of stuff at stake when it comes to being able to predict. So it can be injuries prediction, it can be workload optimization prediction, it can be players availability, it can be winning tacticals. And from what you said, Ben, my understanding is that the trickiest part of it is to make sure that we address and take into consideration all the different factors that are needed to do a good prediction. Because I guess if you miss one of them, you could have a misleading prediction and take the wrong decision and become like worse than before. So Sylvain, I know that you work a lot on this stuff at Footbar. I'm not sure everyone already knows Footbar. Maybe you could start by explaining a bit what you do, and then we can discuss how you help actors address these challenges.
Yeah, with pleasure. So thank you very much also for welcoming us here. So indeed, Footbar provides amateur players with a tracker that they can wear on their leg during the game. And at the end of the game, it gives them insight, statistics about what they did, how many passes, how many shots, how many kilometers they ran, etc., in order to progress, to have fun, and actually to learn how to use the data. So it's a tracker that you can basically buy at the Decathlon store, for example, for 59 euros. And then you wear it anytime you play. Either you are an amateur player, a professional player, etc. So it's really about educating the new generation of the use of data. And data, as you say, is the very center of the question. The problem, as you say, is predicting the future, right? Everybody wants to predict the future. And actually, this is possible. This is what we call a time series prediction in AI or in data. It's what will be the next data from the past data. And obviously, if you do it with a lot of data, actually, there is a lot of noise, as you say, garbage in, garbage out, we used to say. So it is complicated. We try to do it with very simple data. As you said, for example, the workload, the distance. But if this data miss context, it does not mean a lot. For example, recently I saw an article saying that Mbappé covered twice less distance than Jonathan David on the last week of Champions League. And actually this information, without context, it doesn't mean anything. The only useful information that you can get from that is that the journalist hates Mbappé, but well, that's another story. But actually, what impacts the most the distance you run in a game? Well, the first factor is the intensity of the game. In a game with high intensity, even a lazy player will run a lot. And on the contrary, in a game where there are a lot of timeouts, for example, even N'Golo Kanté will cover a very small distance, sorry. The second factor that impacts it, it's the position of the pitch. And by position, I don't mean only a forward versus defender, but you have to take into account your full tactical scheme, the tactical skill and the opponent, etc. And then when you talk about run, is it runs that are useful, for example, to fetch the ball, or you're just running in the void and getting exhausted? So if, actually, when you have the full context, when you know everything about the game, then you can indeed modelize the game properly and make good prediction. But if you don't, well, it's very difficult. And so far, it was really difficult to modelize the game until a couple of years ago. We couldn't do it, but the good news is that now we can use the very same technology that is used by ChatGPT, for example, to understand human language or videos or whatever, to understand the full context. You have to create a large language model, as we call it, using the transformer technology, just as they did. But instead of feeding it with text, well, you will feed it with football data. So by football data, I mean the tracking data, so the position of player, the speed of the player, etc. The events, is there a pass, is there a shot, etc. And by having all this context, then you can modelize the full game. Just like ChatGPT is capable of understanding the sense of a word using the full context. You can give him a very big text, and maybe he will understand the concept of the last word because of what was said in the first paragraph, for example.
So for example, the sense of a word depends on the context of the phrase, of the sentence, of the paragraph. And it's exactly the same when you look at a single data point, which is a football pass. The efficiency of this pass will depend a lot of the context.
Absolutely, okay. Absolutely. You can say on a game, okay, you made 40 passes. What does it mean? If the pass that you did, they led to goals, for example, when it has way more value than if just after you had a goal against yourself. So this notion of context is really crucial, and thanks to generative AI, now we can have models that modelize, that encodes football games, just like we can encode text. And so we've been able to do it with a consortium we launched around the use of generative AI in football, gathering data providers, so data from the computer vision, data from camera, data from trackers like us, universities, companies using data, like the betting companies, etc. And so all together, they join data to provide the best model understanding football, and so able to be used to make those predictions. And it's very important to have it all together, because if you take only, for example, the data from the professional world, well, in Ligue 1, for example, it's only 300 to 400 games a year. So you cannot train a large language model with that, right? In large language model, there is large, and this is very important. When you take a company like Footbar, for example, we have 1 million games collected because we've been on the legs of many players for many years, and it will be data from kids, professional players, men, women. There's a lot of variety, and this is also very important to build a reliable model. And so now that we have a model, indeed we can make better prediction for the future. And as you said, your third point, Chris, was how to make the staff save time, because as soon as you have modelized the data, well, you can summarize it, use the same tool as generative AI to provide a very simple summary, for example. And it's very important for a staff. Today they have to watch a full game to know if a player was good or not, and watch all the games to decide on the level of the player. Tomorrow, as we encode in one click the performance on the game, we can imagine a lot of tools that will save you a lot of time and help you make the predictions.
So we are basically, what you're saying is that we are able to go way deeper into the insights, and also to make these insights way more accessible for the football teams, for the football staff.
Exactly. So there's one side of the problem is encoding the game, so taking all the data and turning it into a useful vectors. Sorry for the technical term, but that's what it is. We reduce and align the data so they are better fed into a machine, and this machine can be indeed time series prediction. So predict if you'll be the next best player when you are only a kid, or if you'll do good on that game or not, or if this tactical scheme, has more chance to score a goal, etc. Or it can be tasked as summarizing. I think we all do it on our daily life by asking ChatGPT to summarize stuff. Well, if you feed it with a game, it can summarize it too.
Okay. And just to make sure we understand correctly what you're saying, is that according to what you're saying, the technology, it's already here. So we are already ready to achieve all of this? Or are we just like at the beginning of these innovations? Or
yeah, this is only the beginning. In football, we have a model that has been trained on our data. So the data of a tracker on the leg, it doesn't take into account the other players on the pitch. So that's why we are forming this consortium with other companies that do, for example, computer vision, and that have the tactical position of the player. And that's really by merging those data sets, by building a complete data set that will be able to have models more and more powerful. But at the beginning, you need a foundation model. Just like for a language model, you have today a lot of model that has been fine-tuned from a basic model. And yeah, with Footbar, we provide this foundation model.
Okay, super interesting. Chris, coming back to you, last week when we talked, you mentioned an example of, I think it was Liverpool Football Club, who are starting using this type of insight on specific phases of the game. Could you tell us a bit more this use case, what they do, what they are trying to achieve? And
well, you have quite a lot of companies on the market who generate XY data, spatial, temporal data, and with those data you can create models of performance that 20 years ago we didn't have. And the example of Liverpool, it was a partnership with Google, from what I understand, where They use spatial temporal data, so X, Y's, the positions, the runs of the players, to create models for corner kicks. So the ideal situation, the ideal tactics, do we implement zonal marking, man-to-man marking, and use it as an opposition analysis tool, and also for developing the best tactics for one's team. Beyond that, you also have companies such as Stats Perform, who they've been using AI for many, many years to develop advanced statistics, which we didn't have before. For example, the expected goal statistic, expected goals on target. These are advanced stats which we didn't have, and which are proven statistics, which basically show which teams, why which teams are the best. So we've really progressed from a technical, tactical point of view. We're even capable of now of at any moment in the game of determining how dangerous a player is according to their current speed and their position. We can also analyse runs off the ball in terms of giving a rating of quality of runs off the ball, which again we didn't have before. So we've got a lot of data, and it's really improved our understanding. Getting back to the physical side of the game, it's obviously important, but if you look at the top teams in the professional leagues anywhere in the world, the top teams tend to run less. So it's important, the physical side of the game, but it's the technical and tactical aspects which will win you the games.
Okay, super interesting, Ben. So basically what we're understanding is that technology is starting to be really here and really enables us to go a lot more in terms of in-depth analysis of tactics, of players' availability, players' performance, and so on. But I guess there's still like major issues when if you are like if you have a football staff who's have access to all these tools. Do you feel that I mean, not especially PSG, but all the clubs that you know of? Do you feel that these clubs, these professionals are already ready to use this tool, or do you think that they need to be, for example, reassured that they can really trust them to not risk taking any misleading decision? Or what are your feelings about this?
Yeah, good comment. I guess it's important to employ, like from my perspective as working in sports science, working in the performance domain, I think an important factor is to hire someone like Cédric Leduc, a strong sports scientist who can put insightful questions, or read both the data side but also speak to a coach. So I think that's paramount for a club moving forward. We want a hybrid approach where you can have that scientist who has the right questioning and can kind of translate that information. So I think it's very important that we simplify a lot of our tasks to make them quicker, and then we can spend that time asking the right questions from my perspective.
Okay, so we have a lot of stuff that we are able technically to do, but we should use them wisely, because we should pursue the right questions and not lose time into trying to analyze the wrong spots. All right. Do you have anything to add, one of you?
I think,
to conclude,
adding to what Ben said, I think one area which we do need to improve on is getting the coaches' input into our models. So the coaches' opinions, what they think, what they feel. We're just using objective data. We use some subjective data as well on the player performances. But if we can, the day we really get the wisdom of the coach and experience, and be able to translate that, apply that to our AI models, our learning models, etc., then I think that will potentially make the difference. Because, the coaches, at the end of the day, when you've got a coach who's been coaching for 20 years, who's won the Champions League, who's won the World Cup, and if we can find a way of translating what they're saying into an AI model, I think that'll make the difference. All
right. So without the coach on board, you can do much, basically.
Yeah, this is actually a standard problem in AI, and it's model to model. a link. For example, when you have a model that generates an image, right? Today it's standard to have models that generate image. It has first to understand what you said with the prompt and what you mean. So that's kind of the same. You have first to have a model that is very good on understanding the data, and on the other side, a human model that is very good of understanding the coaches and make the link between both. So yeah, that's what we do today with AI models.
All right. That's it then. Thanks a lot to all three of you.
Thanks
a lot.